Tonight, we're heading overseas, and helping me to oversee proceedings are the Maharaja of Mirth, Phil Bailey. The Sultana of Swing, Desiree Burch. The Grand Vizier of Gags, Colin Lane. And on his gap year, Alan Davis. Let's oversee their buzzers. Bill goes...
Over the hills and far away.
That was lovely. Desiree goes...
It's a long way to Tipperary.
Colin goes...
I come from a
Alan goes...
Show me the way to go. I'm tired and I want to go to bed.
That's like the ultimate drunk song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, which Australian icon is regularly smeared in olive oil?
Go home.
Oh, Alan was in.
Colin Lane. And it's not a good look.
So I need an Australian icon regularly smeared in olive oil.
Well, would it be an animal of some kind? A beast? A thing?
No, not an animal.
No. Sydney Harbour Bridge is...
OK, you're getting close.
Opera House.
Yes,
Okay.
the Opera House is absolutely the right answer. Why did you say that?
It's 200 metres from the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Yeah,
really?
exactly.
And you said that was close when he said...
Yeah. So there was a Greek migrant who arrived in Sydney in 1964, Steve Sourklalis, and he loved the building. Immediately decided it was being built. He immediately decided he wanted to work there. He is still working there. He's the longest-serving employee, and he was inspired by his own Greek heritage. So he said, olive oil for the Greeks means a lot of things. The Greeks used olive oil in the Olympic Games to rub on the body. Olive oil protects from the sun, and he decided that the building needed to be rubbed in olive oil. The fact is it doesn't protect it from the sun at all, but it stops the railings and the door frames and the windows from getting rusty. And he's still working there more than 50 years later. He just...
And does it not deter people from clambering on it, I imagine, as well?
You could slide off because of the olive oil,
well,
I
yes.
would imagine, yes. I loved the design of it. I think the design of it is extraordinary. Apparently, the Danish architect, Jan Utzon, he got the idea when he was peeling an orange. It's the segments of an orange, and in the 14 shells, if you put them together, would make a perfect sphere. And what I love about the story is his design was recovered from a reject pile. It was a competition, and he got £5,000 for winning the competition. There are lots of different ways of cleaning buildings. So York Minster found that covering the building in a paint made from olive oil can also help to protect it from rain damage. So one of the components of olive oil is an acid that reacts with limestone surfaces, and it creates a barrier and stops water getting into the stone itself. So actually, it is a wonderful thing.
It's a panacea for building. Well, I remember we had this neighbour once who hated squirrels, and he painted all the trees with anti-climb paint. Which was, obviously, I don't know whether that's cruel or what, I don't know, but it was hilarious to watch.
Funny,
because, the cat would chase a squirrel, and the squirrel would go, hey, I'm out of here.
There are other things you can do with... I can't believe I'm saying this. There are other things you can do with olive oil.
Cover opera houses.
Well, in Turkey, oil wrestling is the national sport. They have an annual World Series. It's called the Kırkpınar. 40 springs. It's the oldest continuing sporting event in the world. There are 13 weight categories, from best beginner all the way up to chief wrestler, and taking in big, medium, small, medium, big, and small and sweet. Sound like? You are allowed to put your hand down your opponent's trousers, but it is explicitly against the rules to grab your opponent's testicles or invade his rectum.
That was going to be the one right there.
You can,
if you want, you can put a squirrel down there. That's
Yes.
This looks like an instructional video for pickpockets, like do's and don'ts.
Do aim for the pocket.
Yeah.
The one on the right really looks compliant. You can invade it if you like. I won't say a word.
It's not an invasion if I invite you in.
Right, moving on. What did the Romans think the Britons had ever done for them? I'm going to give you a clue. It begins with O.
Orienteering. They just went in straight lines,
Yeah.
whereas we could go from point to point over all terrain.
Via a youth hostel.
Yes.
Yes. You've got anything to eat?
Octopus.
Orally. Ovaltine.
Oysters.
Oysters.
Oysters. When they came to Britain, they fell in love with our oysters. The 1st century BC Roman historian Sallust, he said, "Poor Britons, there is some good in them after all. They have produced an oyster." So, do you like oysters? I love oysters.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
I
fantastic.
think they are just delicious.
Tell you what is nice, fish paste. In it though, fish paste on toast.
Oh, it is,
Can
yeah.
you still get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get that. And the Salisbury Cathedral's covered in it. It stops the pigeons from landing. I just made it up. Could be true. I don't know. It sounds plausible.
They used to transport the oysters from here all the way over the Alps in carts filled with snow and ice. The wealthier Romans used to have saltwater tanks in their gardens so they could keep them fresh for parties and that sort of things. But oysters aside, I have to say the Romans viewed the British as uncultured and backwards. They mocked their abundance of tattoos and lack of clothing.
Nothing's changed.
The 2nd century historian Herodian, he reported the reason they didn't wear clothes was to show off their tattoos. But oysters have been very popular in this country for a long time. There's a horrible story of William Thackeray. He tried one the size of a dinner plate when he was in New York in 1852, and he described it like swallowing a live baby. And in the 19th century, London was plagued by a man called Dando, the celebrated oyster glutton. This man was constantly sent to prison for overeating oysters and not paying the bill. He became a sort of folk hero. And every time he left prison, he went back out and immediately started eating oysters again, not paying for them, and then back in again. There's a wonderful story about him leaving Brixton prison, still in the prison garb. He eats 13 dozen oysters and washes it down with 5 bottles of ginger beer because he was troubled with wind in the stomach.
You'd think he'd eat a quieter food if he'd been thrown in jail. It's all that slurping.
Yeah.
Eat marshmallows.
Yes, something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He once ate 240 oysters in one sitting. I know, that is really...
Audible gasps.
Yes. So, anyway, on the screen, we have some anagrams of country names. I want you to see how many you can work out. You've got just a few seconds. Write them down, please.
What are we working out? Sorry.
What countries these
Oh,
are
I see.
anagrams of?
Well, I've got the first 2. After that, I'm in trouble.
OK. Who got all 4? Colin?
I did it wrong.
Yes, it is wrong. It's not possible to get all 4 correct. How many did you get, Desiree?
Only the 2.
Just 2?
Yeah.
OK. Colin, what did you think they were, darling?
Wales,
Yes.
France,
Yes.
Angola,
Angola.
and
there you go.
Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it would be Kazakhstan, except there is an extra E, so the 4th one is not possible. Here's the thing. Colin, it's not a good thing that you thought you'd got all 4 right, because what they now know is that you are more likely to act immorally if you spend time abroad.
Yes, I just thought that I was right, but,
Yeah.
but I wasn't, so I didn't actually purposely lie.
No. So they did a study of this. They got people to solve anagrams. And what they've discovered is that people who spend time abroad are more likely to say that they've done something correctly. 48% of people spend a year in a foreign country cheated on the test, compared with 30% of the others. The idea is that your moral compass loses some of its precision.
Further from your home country.
Yeah. So a 5th of people admitted to stealing while they've been in a foreign country.
So what you're saying is that you go abroad, you live abroad, and you sort of kind of almost have a bit of licence to reinvent yourself a little bit and become a different person
Just be a
who
bit
would do things that you would not normally do.
Yeah, so 20% of people admitted to urinating in public when abroad, but wouldn't dream of doing it
Although the first time I came over to Europe, everyone was pissing everywhere, all on the streets. It was like, this is the way of the Europeans.
Oh, whereabouts in Britain were you at this point?
So lots of people do that. 5% of people who did this survey, drinking too much has led to a naked escapade in public, but only when abroad. I've never. Have you had a naked escapade abroad? I don't know, I'm looking at you, Bill.
No. No. Well, all right. Well,
Yeah, I have.
locked out of my room once.
The thing I don't understand, Expedia is one of the travel companies. They did a survey in 2002, and the British were voted the worst tourists in the world.
Yeah!
Okay?
Number one! In your face, Europe!
Well, because your liquor laws make everything close at midnight, and then you go to these other places where you can drink until 4 a.m. and you don't know how to pace or control yourself. You're just like, let's, like everywhere, and people are like, really? It's okay. Like there's more to drink tomorrow. Stop for now.
Guess who's the best tourist in the world? No, darling, it's not the
Yeah,
Australians.
no.
Japanese.
Japanese, yeah, absolutely. The most polite, quietest, cleanest, least likely to complain.
Yeah.
And by the way, as far as alcohol is concerned, Australia, we never touch the stuff.
They never touch your shitty lager, that's for sure.
Well, we don't touch it either. That's why we sent it all over here.
My favourite story about people getting drunk abroad happened in 2012. There were two Welsh holidaymakers, and they drank 1.5 litres of vodka. Right, so those are like 2 wine bottles, basically, of vodka. They were in Queensland, and they woke up to find they were sharing their apartment with a fairy penguin called Dirk. They had obtained by breaking into SeaWorld and the night before. So they're the smallest species of penguin. They're about 13 inches high. They had apparently also swum with the dolphins and let off a fire extinguisher in the shark pool. They then tried to care for the penguin by giving it a shower.
I feel like this is a plot to a Hollywood film. Like, they've had the best vacation they'll never remember.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And then they tried to put it in a canal because they didn't know what to do with it.
What a night.
They had tried. Yeah, seriously.
Top night out.
Yeah.
Put out a shark that's on fire.
Can you imagine waking up drunk and there's a penguin right there?
How did they find out it was called Dirk?
I think SeaWorld said,
Okay.
where the hell is Dirk?
Dirk's always out with the Welsh lads.
Now, we all know who was overpaid, oversexed and over here, but who was overpaid, undersexed and over there?
Well, these are GIs that we're talking about.
GIs, yeah.
But you're saying there was an equivalent?
Yes.
Oh, OK. Undersexed.
all the women who were left behind, although they weren't overpaid, were they?
Well, it depends. So during the Second World War, the wives of the American servicemen who'd been sent to fight abroad, they got an allotment. It was known as an allotment, and it was $50 a month for their husband's tour. And if the husband died in battle, they got $10,000 life insurance. And some of the women thought, well, that's a marvellous idea. So they married as many men as they could. So they were bigamists. They were known as Allotment Annies. And there's a fabulous story about one of them, Elvira Taylor. She was 17 years old, and she had married 2 men, and she was caught out by the most unbelievably unlucky coincidence. So there were 2 American sailors in a pub. This is not them, this is just us showing 2 American sailors. And they both showed a photograph of their wife to the other, and it turns out she was in fact married to both of them, as well as 4 other sailors.
Hashtag role models.
And in fact, the practice was considered so widespread that warnings against possible bigamists were printed in every civil notice of every single marriage. There was even a film, Allotment Wives, released about them, and hundreds of women were convicted after the war of having been allotment annies.
Wow. Allotment Annies.
I know, it's a great phrase, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
OK, who am I talking about? A great beauty, pouty lips, long legs, good posture, firm ears, and spits in your face when you annoy them.
Camel.
It is a camel.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Pouty lips?
Pouty lips, yes. There you are. Look, they have naturally pouty lips. Every year, the government of which country is the only one in the world begins with O?
Oman.
Oman runs a camel beauty contest. So I've got the guidelines for a beautiful camel. Well-proportioned body and face.
Essential.
Essential. A long garib. Anybody know what the garib is?
The penis.
Is it their neck thing?
It is the area between the hump and the neck. Is
Oh,
called the
okay.
garib. Long body, firm ears, pouty lips, broad cheeks, big whiskers, a long straight neck, long straight legs, and fur shimmer.
Shiny coat,
Yeah,
yes.
and the most important thing is it's got to be large. There are no hybrid breeds, no fur dyeing, colouring, tattooing, that kind of thing. The natural look is what they want. But there are other animal beauty contests, and one of them is held here in the UK. It's an annual tarantula beauty contest. So we are going to have a look to see how beautiful tarantulas are. Please welcome zoologist Mark Amy. Now, here's the thing, is that we don't in any way want to upset the tarantulas, obviously.
Don't open the lid.
So,
Don't open the lid. Don't open the lid.
Only one person is going to handle... This is Rosie, the tarantula.
Don't.
And Bill's volunteered, haven't you, Bill?
Yes, I have.
Oh, yes. Oh.
What is this one?
That's a Mexican red-kneed tarantula.
Right, and
And
that-
this one is a Chilean rose.
And she is
tarantula.
called Rosie, isn't she?
Yeah.
OK. How dangerous are they? I mean, some people are afraid of them.
The venom is very mild.
Right.
So it's equivalent to a...
Completely unnatural.
Venom and mild.
It's similar to bees and wasp stings. So it's
Oh,
a
right.
neurotoxin, but it's a low-level neurotoxin.
Oh, that's all right.
But tell me about like a nettle sting that they can give off from their abdomen, is that right?
Yeah, it's called irrigating. And those hairs are like little javelin spears that go in an upward direction, and they're all barbed. So when they hit something like eyes or skin, they stick in.
Well, it comes from the Latin for nettle, so presumably it feels a little bit like a nettle sting. Is
Yeah,
that
it does.
And do they mind being handled?
No, this one's quite used to it and quite enjoys it.
Have you known Rosie from the... from...
I've had her for over 20 years, but then I don't know how long they'll live.
She could live another
Very
10, 20
sweet.
years.
Yeah.
But the boys reach sexual maturity and then what?
Oh, then they're pretty doomed.
Right.
They stop feeding, and their whole purpose in life is to try and find females.
Yes.
And then they'll usually die of starvation. If not, the last female that they mate with generally kills him.
Well, I think they're both beautiful. Thank you so
Absolutely
much,
stunning.
Mark, for
Thank
bringing
you
them
very
in.
much.
And thank you to Rosie. Now, why would you keep your brother in a cage?
If he was a bit like my brother, who used to like to pin me down and dribble into my mouth.
Yeah.
Oh! It's a funny relationship with brothers, isn't it? So my brother and I, we used to play this game at night. We'd turn out the lights and we would roll up a pair of socks and we'd throw them, and if you hit each other, then you got a point. And I always won. And that is because he had a luminous dial on his watch. And I never told him, right, until his 50th birthday. And he's still cross about it.
I had a big brother who used to bully me, and I had a little brother as well, and he was one day in the bathroom, and he was nude, came out of the bathroom and just went, "I am a robot. I am a robot." We thought that was pretty funny, and then we turned around and he had a battery sticking out of his bum.
Actually, we're going right back to Ottoman times. So, as the Ottoman Empire expanded, it was decreed that when a sultan ascended to the throne, he should kill all his brothers, and it was to prevent sibling rivalry and all that kind of thing. And then this guy pitched up, Sultan Ahmed I, 1603, and he said, "I don't want to kill my brothers." He's obviously a nice guy. So he made this very special pavilion, and it was called the Cage, and they were cut off from the world, all his brothers. They were accompanied by eunuchs and concubines past childbearing age, so you couldn't have any progeny to mess up with the thing. And they spent all their time doing macrame.
Oh,
Yes.
how lovely.
I know.
In the shape of a noose.
Yeah. And then if a sultan died without a son, one of the brothers would be taken from the cage and made sultan.
Right, so it's just a way of protecting the line, the lineage.
Yeah, it is
Right.
exactly that.
Yeah.
But with the one who came from the cage, that wasn't just whoever's the oldest. There was terrible fighting. 1622, Sultan Osman II died by compression of the testicles at the hands of an assassin, Pelivan, the oil wrestler. They have quite a lot of strange rules. One of my favourites, if a Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire was sentenced to death, he could have the sentence commuted to banishment if he beat the head gardener, who was also the chief executioner, in a race around the royal palace. So the vizier would be summoned by the gardener, and you were to be handed a cup of sherbet. If it was white, it was all fine. If it was red, it meant death. And he had to run 300 yards from the palace to a place called the Fish Market Gate. And if he survived, then he could carry on living. And this carried on quite well into the 19th century. It's such an interesting period of history, the Ottoman Empire. So 1517, they had one of their most famous victories was over the Mamluks of Egypt. And it's largely down to the fact that the Mamluks considered guns beneath their dignity. They refused to use them. And then, so they were...
Idiots.
Yeah, exactly. Totally wiped out.
Yeah.
We arrive at the slippery individual that we call General Ignorance. Fingers on buzzers, please. Ooh. Where are most of the world's obelisks?
Go home.
Alan.
London.
No.
Oh, come on, we've got one.
Tasmania.
I want that to be true. But no, they're in Rome. There are twice as many obelisks in Rome as there are in Egypt. So 13 in Rome, 6 in Egypt. They were nicked. Although I have to say 5 of the ones in Rome are homegrown, but the rest were taken from Egypt. The Egyptians called them tekenu. But we call them obelisks because Herodotus, the Greek traveller, was the very first one to write about them. So that's why we get the Greek name. So you said Britain had got one. What is the name of the one that we have?
I don't know.
There it is.
It's Cleopatra's Needle, right?
Yes, the American gets the point.
Of course, as soon as you say it.
Yes. Now, name an endangered mammal that eats bamboo.
Panda! Panda! Hey!
Glad you said it.
Yeah. No, not so. Why, Bill? Any idea?
Well, they're not that endangered.
They're no longer endangered.
Oh, they're all over the place.
They're vulnerable.
You can't go in any shopping centre in London without them taking up all the seats.
Yeah.
Elephants eat bamboo. Is there a right answer?
There is a right answer, but it isn't panda because they are no longer designated as endangered.
Tree sloth.
It's a golden bamboo
Eater.
lemur. A there, look, how cute is that?
Little face. A bird of prey. There's only the 2 of us left now. I'm the World Wildlife Fund. Stop eating the bamboo. That's what I can say. We're making the same mistakes again and again and again. We need to adapt to new habitats. Shut up, I'm eating all the bamboo before the bird comes back.
I love bamboo. I bloody love it.
You can do so much with it. You can grill it, you can fry it, you can chop it up.
You can make scaffolding out of it for building a lemur
It's
house.
a very flexible plant. Everyone knows that.
You can make a xylophone out of it, for
There's
God's
loads
sake.
of it. Why are we dying out?
We should be thriving.
We're not having enough sex.
It doesn't really look like bamboo, though. I mean, it looks like he's crimping the end of a joint. Yeah, just crimp it. Here we are. That's it. Right. OK, come on, everyone.
The Camberwell carrot.
Yeah. That's why they're dying out. They're just not doing anything.
Best job ever, I think. In 2014, China's giant panda protection and research centre started recruiting panda nannies. Oh my.
Oh, my gosh.
You get paid the equivalent of £28,000 a year. You get free meals, travel, accommodation, and you get to hug pandas all day.
What are any of us doing with our lives?
Some basic knowledge of pandas is required, as well as the ability to take pictures. The work has only one mission, spending 365 days with the pandas and sharing in their joys and sorrows.
No.
I don't think they have any joy or sorrow,
what
do they?
What are
I mean,
panda sorrows?
They're just pandas, aren't they?
I like the little one in the middle. I may be small, but I'll take any of you. I can take on any of you. He's a tough one.
They're about to drop that one. And ready, go!
It would just be the softest crash in the world. Though.
This one, this is my favourite. Yeah, this one. That's the best. Show business.
Panda with jazz hands. You don't see that very often. Now, how many hills was Rome built on?
7.
7.
Six, 5,
5,
4, 3,
8.
7.5.
Oh,
8.
no, you've done it again!
It's always been known as Seven. It seems to be a misunderstanding. In fact, they used to have a big festival called the Septimontium, which means 7 hills, and they used to celebrate the whole thing. But actually, when you look at the ancient list of the hills involved that they're celebrating, there are 8. And Mary Beard, who's a wonderful classicist, says something has got confused there somewhere along the line. But there's about 75 cities in the world that claim to have been built on 7 hills. There are 2 Romes, 2 Athens, as the 7 hills in Ohio, which is rather aptly named. About a quarter of Europe's capital cities claim.
Bath, where I grew up, that's supposed to be based on Rome.
Right.
It goes to 7 hills, but...
The 7 hills.
Lisbon's very hilly.
What's that?
They have a funicular railway.
It's like the worst TripAdvisor.
No, on the contrary. It's a very good tip about Lisbon. It's very hilly. It's what we need to know more than anything else. They said it was hilly on TripAdvisor.
You need to be warned about it. You're absolutely
Edinburgh's hilly.
Yeah.
OK, let's stop doing places that are hilly.
Dublin's not very hilly.
No. OK, moving on from hilly.
Holland's completely flat. None of the hills at all.
Amsterdam, no, barely an incline.
Nothing at all. No, there's no crime in Holland or Belgium because you can see people coming from miles off.
Do you know, I can imagine you in a home somehow.
Will you come and see me?
Yeah, no. Bring you some mashed banana.
Argentina, that's really hilly.
Shut up!
I'll be in the next bed.
So lots of it...
Vancouver, but it's not a capital, doesn't count.
Yeah. Fiji, is
Shut
that hilly?
Do you think this is sharp enough to kill somebody?
If you have enough intention behind it.
Oslo's hilly.
That's true.
They've got a funicular railway and don't deny it.
That's right.
OK. On the subject of Rome...
Yes.
That is Hilly's favourite.
That's really hilly. They thought it was 7, but it turns out it's 8.
Hey,
Does this qualify as entertainment?
no. The 7 hills... The 7 hills of Rome are actually 8, and there are many other places in the world that are also hilly, and I can't be asked to tell you. When I'm in the company of men in a group like this, I feel happy about my life choices. And so... And so, our international odyssey is over, and it's time to work out what it's cost us. Let's have a look at the scores. In last place, we have with... this is magnificent, minus 57. It's Alan! A very creditable minus 3, Bill! And considering it was her very first show, she got a full 3 points. Desiree! Colin, 16 points. You are the winner!
Rejoice, for we are young and free. And the suburb where they make neighbours is quite hilly.
The winner takes home this week's objectionable object, and it is this lovely souvenir spider. There you go. There you go. Thank Desiree, Bill, Colin and Alan. And to end this overseas show, I leave you with this story about travel. Muhammad Ali was on a flight when a hostess asked him to put on his seatbelt. Superman don't need no seatbelt, said Ali, to which she replied, Superman don't need no plane. Yeah. Thank you. Good night.